Welcome to the Pulse podcast. My name is Amanda Livingston, and I'm president of the Salem-Roanoke Chamber of Commerce. And we are at the beautiful Red Velocity Studios in downtown Roanoke. And today's guest is Jarrod Hines, president and CEO of Farmer Auctions. Welcome, Jarrod.
Thanks for having us, Amanda. Appreciate it.
Yes, yeah. We're very excited about it. Why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about your company?
So our family has been in the auction industry for 5 generations, back to about the 19-teens. And we were fortunate enough to work out a friendly purchase of the Farmer Auctions Company back in 2016. We were friendly competitors with the Farmer family for years, and they approached us in 2016 when they were considering selling, and we thought it was a logical synergy for our business. Sure. And so we did that.
Sure. Yeah. That's really neat that you're able to do that. So walk us through how you got into the auction world.
Oh gosh. By just sheer being around it my entire life. The oldest recollection I have is my great uncle, who I worked with. He was an auctioneer and the county clerk. I think they might call that conflict of interest today, but that was that's what he did. And then my father was an auctioneer and did other things. And then of course I was around it my entire life, and never really looked at it as a profession until about 2010. And then we started really looking at it trying to think, could it be something that we did full time? Right.
Yeah. Yep. So I think when I think of auctions, actually, my husband's family just had an auction. Okay. Literally, and we were in rural retreat, and it was like theater seating, and this guy was up there talking fast, and all the items were all over the lawn, and it was like this company that came in. That's kind of what I think of when I think of an auction. What is an auction like at Farmers?
Well, that's what it was in our family for years, but due to technology and changes in the way we do commerce, in 2012, I made the decision that if we were going to try to do this and scale it, we needed to be online. So we miss live auctions, and we miss that interaction with a live audience and the bid calling, and just the sheer Americana of that setting. But it was obvious to me that with the onslaught of assets that are coming from this baby boomer generation, that you had to find a way to scale it. Online commerce had been prevalent in our society for years before we ever thought about this. And so it was just a logical transition to just a different way to sell items and create competition through an auction method. But we miss live. Nobody likes to call bids more than me. We miss it, but it's better for the client this way, we think.
Yeah. So kind of walk me through how it works. If, something happened in my family and we wanted to try to, sort of sort out the estate.
Sure. The first thing that we try to make the general public aware of is, please don't start throwing things away until you call the professionals, because you run the risk of disposing of things that are valuable and should have been in the auction, right? And so typically what happens is we have the intake call. We try to get an understanding of what types of assets they have, to determine if it's going to be auction appropriate or not. The first initial visit on site is, of course, free of charge, just to sort of walk through the types of things they have, the logistics of, can we actually have an auction there online within the confines of the house and the buildings and the barns and things like that. Once we determine that it is auction appropriate and it has enough value and flair to be an auction, our staff then returns and goes through what we call discovery and triage effort, where they are sifting through spaces and trying to find what's good and what's not so great, and separating those different levels of things. And then they photograph and catalog the items at the home. And the house, as we tell our sellers, essentially becomes the sales floor. Everything stays there, which a lot of families like. And then once it's done, we activate the catalog for bidding, and the online auction has a 2-week-long duration most of the time.
Okay. Yep. Okay, so I'm able to check out the items.
Yep.
And then the auction goes on for 2 weeks.
So the bidding is available for 2 weeks, but thanks to eBay being first to market, everyone waits until the last 2 days to place their bids, right? Even though you cannot snipe something at the last millisecond on our website. It is intentionally set up just like an auction would have been had it been out in the front yard. As long as two bidders are competing for an item, the system will just refresh that item until someone quits bidding, just like we would have had we been out in the front yard, right? And it can work wonders for automobiles and precious jewelry and unique items that are very subjective and that may have a lot of emotion behind them. And you may have two competitors that just sit there for several minutes and compete and fight over an item, and the system will just refresh let you do that until somebody finally gives up. I've seen items linger for 5 or 10 minutes before. And other items around them have already completely shut down and timed out, and this one particular asset still has competition.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the beauty of the model. Because we all came from a live auction background, we tried to make the online portion mimic a live auction. Yep.
So what are some of the more popular items that people are interested in these days?
So across the span of time, it's always been automobiles, precious jewelry, firearms, tools, machinery, sterling silver, coins, anything like that. Those are obvious. We've seen a market shift over the last 10 or 15 years in things that the older generations were hopeful were going to be investments that turned out not to be, like home furnishings, what we affectionately refer to as brown furniture in our industry. That's a decorative style that is somewhat out of vogue now.
You know that heavy stuff is coming back. That's
well,
what
we certainly hope so, because we sell a lot of it. But it's challenging because we find that styles have changed, tastes have changed. This little thing we call the internet forever changed the definition of the word rare. And so if they don't buy your oak dresser, it's not like it's the last one they're ever going to see today. Right. And so things that we couldn't give away years ago are now somewhat desirable and hot in our market. For example, for years, signs, advertising signs have been extremely hot in this market. But I remember a time when I was growing up that you'd find a sign in a garage or a barn and it wouldn't sell for near what it sells for today. So that's one example of many of how the market has shifted. We have an auction here in Roanoke right now that has a tremendous collection of the original Star Wars figures from 1977. And they are smoking hot because that generation of people, which is my generation, are buying what they grew up with.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we do. Yep.
That's really neat. Yeah. I'm trying to think if I have anything valuable at home I can get rid of.
Well, the reason that we tell people, please don't start to dispose of things until you call us is, quite frankly, you're not qualified to do that.
Yeah.
Just like I can't rewire my house, okay? We can see the trees for the forest, and you run the peril of throwing something away that you shouldn't have that might be worth thousands of dollars. Yeah. I've actually had to crawl into dumpsters and rescue things from dumpsters that families had disposed of. Yes. Yep.
That is funny.
Yep.
Wow. So how do you get paid?
Well, typically it's through, we're all rowing the same boat, we like to say. It's a function of the sales volume. So it's a commission based on the prices that things sell for, really. And commissions can be adjusted based on the anticipated sales price. For example, just in plain terms, we're probably not going to charge as much commission on a 1966 Corvette as we are on a dresser in your bedroom.
Sure.
Right.
So do you have a story or a product or some item that was like kind of a neat story, like a one and only?
Wow. Every day. The one that comes to mind most recently on a single item level is we were in a historic home in Dublin, Virginia, one of the oldest houses in Dublin, and the family had a military background, and they knew they had this piece, but they didn't know what it was, and it ended up being an 1860 Virginia Military Institute class ring.
Wow.
Civil War era class ring from VMI, and our militaria expert, who just happens to be a historian from Pulaski County, did the research on the family and found out that the soldier that owned the ring was with Stonewall Jackson at John Brown's hanging in West Virginia at Harper's Ferry, which means he was also there with John Wilkes Booth, who was also on that trip as well.
That's incredible.
And so the provenance dramatically adds to the value of an item. Had we not known that, it's still an 1860 Virginia Military Institute class ring. But with the story, it added so much more sales value. And we actually contacted VMI, and the oldest ring they had in their collection was 1910.
Wow. So did they scoop that up?
They did not. We were surprised that they didn't get involved. We contacted them well in advance, and they just did not. They did not participate.
Huh. So, interesting. What did it go for?
$13,000.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
For a class ring. Okay. So you acquired Farmer Auction.
Yes.
Tell us any lessons that you learned, any takeaways from making that like a merger with your other company, essentially?
Yeah. So the advice to any small business that may be involved in a friendly takeover is, if you can at all, try to involve your predecessor in the story of the takeover. The Farmer family was very gracious in working with us to make it aware to the general public that it was a friendly takeover, that they were in support of it, that it was going to be a seamless transition, which it was. And it was just a replacement in kind, really. There was no downward tick in business or anything like that. As a matter of fact, it was probably the opposite. But Will Farmer, to his credit, was very involved in the transition and participated in it and really helped it be as smooth as it could possibly be. So that's the advice that I would give if you're taking over or buying any business and your predecessor is willing to participate. Take advantage of that.
That transition
Absolutely.
just makes it smooth.
Yep.
Yeah. So I know you're a very successful entrepreneur. You know, we've got 440 members in our chamber, and we're always looking for advice for other entrepreneurs. What would you say? What helps you succeed in your business?
People. Hire correctly, right? We didn't do a very good job of that early on in the 2012-13 timeframe when we were first starting. And one of the handiest things that we take away from professional seminars is how to hire better, right? And we've got a system now that's really helped us find the right type of people. And I tell people all the time, as trite as this sounds, your bottom line's only as good as your front line. And in our business, it's especially true because the folks that are out in the homes cataloging are directly interacting with the client, who a lot of times is not exactly in the best frame of mind because they've just lost a loved one. They're shuttering a 50-year-old business or something, and my staff has to interact with them every day, right? And hear the stories about their grandfather, and have to, be empathetic to their situation. And that's something that you can't teach, right? You just have that innately or you don't. And so first piece of advice for anyone starting a business is really concentrate on what's your brand promise, what's your message, and make sure that message filters down through your company so that your staff understands what you're trying to accomplish. And if the people that you're hiring don't buy into that mantra, then they're probably not going to be around long, right? Market analysis is another one. It was obvious that the greater Roanoke Valley as a whole, there was a huge need for what the Farmer family was doing and what we were doing as well. The baby boomers are in the early stages of liquidating $180 trillion in assets. It's the largest transition of wealth in the history of the United States, and it's just starting. So inventory continues to rise. I had 3 consultations today. Wow. It's 2:00.
Wow.
And so the demand is there. And because we're also realtors, we can help. It's a turnkey solution.
Sure.
And we knew that there was a niche there that wasn't being filled, that we could fill for families that are just so overwhelmed, they just want to hand you the keys and let you do your job.
Sure.
Right.
So what is your brand promise?
So our main brand promise is that we're going to add value to your collection. We see things that you don't see. Okay. Everyone knows their jewelry is valuable. Everyone knows their classic car is valuable. But for example, the class ring we just talked about, they knew they had it. They didn't know how valuable it was.
Sure.
Right. So we tell people all the time not to be immodest. This is not a hobby. This is what we do.
Sure.
Okay. This is a profession. This is what we do all day, every day. We're constantly learning. We have experts in almost any asset category you could possibly think of. We have our coin expert is 83 years old, and he is practically a savant when it comes to analyzing and scrutinizing coins. He could probably recite the price book. But our brand promise is, first and foremost, there's a great chance we're going to know what you have and be able to identify it properly. And then the most important thing in the auction world is marketplace. How many buyers are looking at each event? Because that drives sales volume. And if you're just dealing with people that live within the greater Roanoke Valley, while there's a good population density here, your best classic car buyer for that particular car, for instance, might live in Pittsburgh, right? And so the larger your marketplace, the higher the sales volume can be for your client. And that's another one of our brand promises. We have a tremendous marketplace of buyers for almost any asset class you could possibly think of. We're a federal firearms agent. We have 4 or 5 firearms events a year.
Are guns one of your major?
Always have been.
Yeah.
Guns have
Coins.
Historically held their value. Coins, yep. Coins usually revolve around the spot price of gold and silver, but then if you have the right people on staff that can identify that scarce coin that may have been in low production, so not only is it made of gold or silver, there aren't many around. So the metallurgical value is one thing, and then the scarcity value is another thing.
So how many people are like chiming in and looking at the auctions online typically?
We actually track this. We will average between 150 and 200 bidders per auction.
Okay.
Normally from about 12 to 20 states. And it all depends on the mix of things we're selling. The more diverse the collection, the more buyers are going to participate. We had an auction in Grandin a couple months ago for a tremendous estate, and this gentleman had a 1975 Bronco. He had 4 paintings from local artist Walter Biggs. He had fine jewelry. So we had probably 400 bidders in that auction because the collection was so diverse. Yep.
Interesting. So what's on the horizon for you and your company?
Well, for the first time in our company's history, we've actually started to advertise our company versus the auctions. We've always promoted our auctions well, but we're starting to tell our story a little bit now, and we believe that's going to have an impact on our market share and allow us to meet people we may not have met before, that may not have understood the power of what we do. And so we're hoping that we get to scale that more than we already have. And we've been really forward-focused and public-facing in our efforts and trying to be involved in the chambers of commerce and local networking groups and things like that, even and over in West Virginia, as well as here in the Roanoke Valley. We feel it's very important that people understand that your personal property can sometimes change your life from a financial standpoint. And if you'll call the experts for a consultation before you start to rifle through it, and then we can segue that into also helping you with the sale of your house as well. I don't know that story's been told very well, and auctions are powerful. There's a reason that auctions have been around for over 2,000 years. There's a reason that the world's largest auction occurs every day at 9:30 at the New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah, that's true.
That's an auction.
Yeah,
right?
I hadn't thought about that.
That's why they chose that method.
So I feel like I've heard some rumblings about maybe a partnership or something.
So we are in the early stages of, there's the local business Crowning Touch here in town decided to sell several weeks ago. And they were purchased by a local company who primarily focuses on moving jobs. They contacted us directly to help them with the auction and real estate arm of that business. And so just this past week, we already have our first client under contract as a result of that relationship. So as we work toward how this looks legally on paper, we're already working in referrals back and forth to each. Oh yeah, it's been great so far. And they, to their credit, they understand where their lane is, and we want no part of the moving business. I've seen that movie. We don't want any part of that. But they knew that they needed a capable vendor to handle any auction opportunities they came across, as well as any conventional real estate sales too. Yeah.
So I have a little experience with Crowning Touch. 5 years ago when I moved here, I moved into my husband's home and I wanted to make it my own. So I wanted to remove everything that was in there. And so I contacted Crowning Touch and they sent movers over and they packaged everything up and they, just kind of trucked it over to their location. And then every couple of weeks we get a check in the mail for whatever they sold. But it was expensive.
Yeah. So the difference in our model is we would have probably advised you to sell it from the home online to me in its native environment where it looks better, for lack of a better description, in the room it's suited for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it would have eliminated the whole relocation cost, and it would have gotten your proceeds to you in one lump sum instead of scattered over several weeks or months.
Right. Yeah. So what else do you want to tell us about Farmer Auction?
Oh gosh, that's a loaded question.
Well, how can everyone reach you? What's the best way?
Well, our website is farmer-auctions.com. We find that a lot of people like to go there and read our testimonials. We have Google business pages too. So if you don't believe me, our testimonials are all over the place. You can watch videos of folks that we've helped and hear what they had to say. Normally, if you visit our website at farmer-auctions.com, at any time you'll see anywhere between 5 to 8 auctions that are running, simultaneously. And and so that's typically the way people find us, or call the gallery if you need to have services that need us to come out and visit with you. You can call us directly.
Great.
We will never have an AI operator. You will always talk to a human being when you call us. Yes.
At Farmer Auction. So I ask every guest, what is your favorite thing about living here in the Valley?
Oh gosh, I tell people all the time. Working in real estate, sometimes we deal with buyers that are relocating to the area, right? And I tell them, one of the first things I tell them is, if you can't find something interesting to do within an hour of this town, you're not looking hard enough. You're just really not.
Sure.
And it's really eclectic because they're tremendous outdoor activities. There's a very powerful live music scene in and around the Roanoke Valley too, with the Floyd Country Store, the Harvester Center in Rocky Mount, the Salem Civic Center, Roanoke, the Berglund Center. There always seems to be some form of really good entertainment just within an hour's drive of here. And then you have the Appalachian Trail and McAfee's Knob are close by. If you're a foodie, this is a good town for you too, right? And the surrounding areas, if you know where to look.
So, favorite restaurant?
This is probably, if I had to pick, if you had a knife to my throat, probably River and Rail. River and Rail has these sorghum ribs that are like candy. And I don't get to go out much and do stuff like that, but I did stumble onto that a couple years ago, and every chance I get, we go to River and Rail.
It's great.
But then you have your staples like Mac and Bob's. Can't go wrong. You can throw a dart at their menu. That's a great place to eat too. Just so many. You cannot go wrong in the Roanoke Valley most of the time.
I agree. Yes. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much.
We appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, very
Absolutely.
informational. I can't wait to watch an auction.
Super.
Well, thank you for being with us today, and thank you to Red Velocity and the Salem-Roanoke County Chamber. We'll see you next time.